Friday forecast time as Nebraska gets ready for their first road trip of the year at Purdue. Sean, before we look at the Boilermakers, let's look back at Illinois. A lot of disappointment, and yet, Matt Rule reminded the reporters on Monday that they were 1-2 plays away from winning that game. So I guess you can take the good with the bad.
Yeah, I mean, obviously a lot of disappointment because I think you saw the big picture of this schedule with 4 home games in a row, and you wanted to maximize this, and the opportunity was there to be 4-0 and be a top 20 team going into October for this team with a road game here to close out the month of September. So it is tough, but some of the issues with defense really raised alarm bells that they could not get off the field, that they were having a hard time in the second half stopping the run, and now everyone's going to try. And this week we know Purdue has some accomplished running backs, and that will be their game plan.
Yeah, copycat league, no question. They look at the template and what Illinois did, especially in that second half, and especially on first down, right?
Yeah, first down, you go back and study that game. Purdue or Illinois averaged over 5 yards a carry on first down the entire game. They were 5.6. I mean, basically a 2nd and 4, 2nd and 5 average the entire game. And at that point, you're just behind the 8 ball. Your defense is in a really tough position. Rarely did Nebraska win on first down, and I consider winning holding them to a 1 or 2 yard gain. And a lot of times, as we said, it was way more than that. And from that point on, it just always felt like Nebraska never really had a good rhythm about how they play defense.
This is Game 5. Obviously, Game 5 meaning one more than the allowable amount to redshirt. So a lot of decisions will be made, and we'll learn a lot about who's staying and who may be keeping that redshirt this week, right?
Yeah, Riley Van Poppel's the one I'm most intrigued on. Keona Davis has played 4 as a true freshman defensive lineman. You get the feeling that he's going to keep playing. Willis McGahee has played 3 games. Vincent Shavers, I believe, has played 4. So they have some decisions to make on some of these younger players, but I think Van Poppel's the one to watch because if they don't feel like they have enough beef up front after the starters, and that's what Brett Bielema said he tried to do last week. He's like, I wanted Hutmacher and Robinson to have to play 6 or 7 plays in a row, and eventually they were going to give out. And that's what happened. Illinois wore down Nebraska's defense, particularly in the second half, where they doubled them up in yardage and held the football for nearly 19 minutes of the second half.
Yeah, that's a recipe to win in the Big Ten, no question. Injuries. Tommy Hill looks like it's going to be a day-to-day thing with that plantar fasciitis, right?
And something just didn't look right with Tommy Hill in the Illinois game, the way he got beat. He gave up 57 yards receiving in on the 3 catches he gave up. It just did not run at the level. I think the positive was Sierra Wright. I thought Sierra Wright gave Nebraska something with his presence out there, had the strip sack fumble, only allowed 10 catches or 10 yards of receiving on 4 targeted passes last week, so that was a positive.
The other side of the football, injury that really stood out, Turner Corcoran.
Yeah, Turner Corcoran out with a significant hamstring injury. What does that mean? That doesn't sound good. I mean, hamstrings take normally several weeks. This one's significant. So will we see Turner Corcoran back? I think on the flip side, Gunnar Gatula gave them 48 quality reps, didn't allow a sack, had the 1 penalty, which was disappointing in the overtime. But I still would keep your eyes on Micah Mazuka. I think there's maybe a way to get him on the field, even as a tackle. And I think those things will be explored here throughout the week as Nebraska gets ready for this game.
And Mazuka's standing, he's back in good standing, correct?
We think.
Yeah.
We think. And really, Andy, I think that's between Coach Rule and Micah. Nobody else really is very privy to that situation as it's been kept very in-house.
Dylan Raiola, though, a bright spot on Friday night. He played very, very well. I know he would like a couple passes back. Of course, the one in the end zone that he overthrew Luke Lindemeyer.
Yeah, Dylan Raiola has done everything right, though. I mean, some of the throws he made against Illinois in the first half were outstanding. And Brett Bielema tried to drop 7 back in coverage. He's like, hey, true freshman quarterback, let's make him throw the ball in tight windows, and we'll get him to mess up and force a turnover or incompletion. It didn't work. So Illinois started to bring pressure, and Matt Rule said himself, he goes, that's what I would do too, because if you give Dylan Raiola time, even with 7 men back in coverage, he's proven, especially in zone defense, he will zip it through the windows. I thought the deep out throw on 3rd down cross field was as impressive of a throw as you're going to see in this stadium, especially with the way the wind was cutting. Yep. To make that throw look that easy, we haven't seen a quarterback ever do that in Nebraska in a while.
Northeast corner of the field, that was an amazing throw. But as great as Raiola has been, Matt Rule said it Monday, they're going to have to win games by establishing the run, and they need to get better at that.
Yeah, in some ways, Colorado figure that out too with Shedeur Sanders. He has a great arm like Dylan Raiola, but they had to run the ball, and we saw them beat Baylor because they've added more running. And I think Nebraska's got to figure out the recipe of what they want their run game to be. And when you don't have the running quarterback element, it just becomes more predictable. When Dante Dowdell's in there, it's a physical type run. When the other guys are in there, it's usually more of a pass play in a lot of cases. So how do you create a running style to this offense where it's not as predictable? I think that's one of the challenges.
And finally, on special teams, the Alvano situation, Tristan Alvano, his situation continues. They shut him down at the mid part of last week. John Hall kicked, and obviously a tough spot to put him in on Friday. But how do you look at the special team situation moving forward? Enough so where they added some staff.
Yeah, Brett Maher, officially now a paid member of this coaching staff, lives in Lincoln, has lived in Lincoln even as an NFL player. So he's been around a lot. He's just retired now and has more time to help in this role. So smart move by Matt Rule to bring him in. The Alvano one is such an interesting situation because you just don't know where that's going to go. Will they just shut him down for the rest of the year? You just don't get the sense that 2 weeks off is going to completely heal what he has. And we've been there, done that with kicker injuries here, unfortunately. And it's not something that you want to mess with because they matter. And in this game last week, it really mattered. And I don't pin it all on John Hall. The hold was off where the laces were wrong and the ball came off his foot bad. So there was more to that missed kick than just John Hall. But it is a tough situation, not knowing what your kicker situation is going to be each week.
Yeah, laces out. I learned that on Ace Ventura, right? Well, it's the first road trip of the year. The Huskers a double-digit favorite to win at Purdue. The game's at 11 a.m. Central Time, and you can watch it. You can stream it on Peacock.